hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are at it here on this fine Friday night. You got 2 hours of fun right ahead of you, and thank you so much for spending it right here with me. And special thanks to the Freaky Friday crew. Always awesome following you guys. Always a pleasure, and always a fantastic show. So it sets an incredible tone and an incredible pace, but we'll do our best to keep up with it here. Welcome, everybody. We got a really special show lined up for you guys tonight. Our guest is one that many of you are very familiar with, and many of you have emailed me about repeatedly and how much you enjoyed and took just a real deep pleasure in the stories that this man has brought to the table. And I think it's something that many of us have pondered, many of us have considered and thought about, but he is one of maybe one or two or three people in the world that has had the experiences that he's had. And of course, he's a dear friend of mine as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Mr. Kevin Laing to the show. Hey, Kev, how you doing, brother?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing good. I'm just I'm all isolated here. That's probably where I'm the safest. But we're doing good. How's things in your world?
Doing pretty good. Still healing up, but getting a lot better than I was a couple months ago. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, that doesn't take much because you were in a tough place a couple months ago, man. And I'm just thrilled. Like I was telling you before the show, you look great. You got that light in you again, that spark, and it's really good to see because I know you've been through a lot of health crisis and stuff, but thank you so much for coming back on the show. I know that you and I have had phenomenal discussions, whether in person when we met or on the shows. We've always had a really great discussion, and it's really, really cool that you are here again. Of course, could you just take a couple minutes or give us the brief version of your history, just in case there's listeners out there that aren't familiar with your story, and give people an idea of what's going on in your experience?
All right. I grew up in a small town in Idaho, and being such, a long time ago, the constant trips to the mountains on my motorcycle and stuff, I happened to run across something I'd never experienced before. And turns out I didn't know what it was in the beginning, but it turns out it was the Sasquatch people that I encountered. And I came across an orphaned young one, and befriended him when I was young. And then it just went from there. That was about 4.5, 5 years of my life of spending time with him off and on over those 4.5, 5 years. And ever since then, everywhere I go, I know like going out and doing research,
Hmm.
seeing if there are areas that I'm at, and I always find them. Always. Actually, I have a troop that lives. Yeah, I'm out in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas now,
Uh-huh.
and in the woods right behind my house, there's a troop that lives there. I actually have a really good relationship with them too. One of the young males actually always comes up to my house at night and taps on the wall when he wants me to come out and say hi.
You are like a Sasquatch magnet, though. I mean, I've of course seen some of the pictures, and I'll try to dig them up again so we can revisit those from when you were on the show last time. But you've you've seen some pretty amazing activity, like a root ball and a stump. How high up in a tree was that?
5 feet up in a tree.
Yeah, I mean, and that must have been several hundred pounds. And
Yeah, easily 1,000 pounds.
wow. And you've had logs like trees dragged onto your property.
They gave me a bouquet of cedar trees and plopped them in my backyard. There's four of them that all had different colored dirt around the root balls. The closest place that there was red dirt to me is about 7 miles away.
Oh man,
Trees had dark red clay around their root balls.
that's amazing. Yeah, and so you've seen a lot of activity. Do you think that the experience with Glagg in your younger years has, I don't know, has maybe marked you somehow and made it so that
So I didn't think so for a long time, but what I've experienced in the last 5 years, I would say yes. I think
hmm
they just know whenever I go out.
hmm
And the last show that I was on, World Bigfoot Radio,
hmm
all of the pictures that Duke put up on that interview were taken out of my videos. There's quite a few that I have footage of.
wow, yeah, that's absolutely incredible. I I think that how do I say this? I mean, a lot of people on the outside looking in may look at this and just go, "Oh yeah, right." But I think that this is very, very real. I know that in my discussions with you, I found you to be an incredibly sincere person, an incredibly forthcoming person. I mean, you got to be extraordinarily brave to come forward and say, "Hey, this is what I've seen. This is what I've experienced. This is what I've been through." And I think that it kind of goes two ways, right? I mean, there's the part of people that really will grab onto that because it really creates what do I want to say, a really fascinating reality around this enigmatic beings that are out there, in that they are intelligent, they are emotional, they're not just these thundering oafs out in the brush that like to knock stuff over and freak people out. That there's a whole nother level to them.
That they do is for a reason.
Right.
And they're not stupid. In a lot of ways, they're a lot more intelligent than we are. Look at them, they stay away from us.
Hmm.
And if I had it to do over again, I can't blame them for wanting to stay away from humans. Look at what we do to each other.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, we got a lot to learn, and we probably could learn a lot from them in many ways. And I think but I think that goes for all of nature, that we've lost our roots to the natural world around us, and to see something living in harmony and balance and stuff. And I think I take a lot of inspiration from the First Nations, in their histories and in their their love of the world they live in, and I think that that's really inspirational.
Yes, definitely. And the Native Americans and the First Nations people in Canada, you go back and they all talk about they used to trade with these people,
Hmm.
and they look just exactly like that as a people, not as an animal. They're a people. They just live a different way than we do.
Right. Now we had Ron Moorhead on just recently, and Ron brought some really interesting things to the table, as far as the potentially supernatural aspects of it. And by supernatural, I don't mean beyond possibility. I just mean that beyond our current understanding. That people are experiencing a lot of strange things like that, with them disappearing, coming disappearing into nowhere. I've talked to people that have seen them disappear in front of them and just fade out, and it's hard to get our heads around that. But again, speaking of the First Nations, this is something I thought was really powerful about what Ron is doing, is that what his research and what his information is doing is it's reaffirming a lot of those legends of the First Nation tribes that they have about these beings having great powerful magic, and that they can, or they call it medicine, I guess, but they have powerful medicine, and they can disappear, and they can make you forget, and they can do many different things. Now, have you have experienced the mind speak, right?
I have now.
Mm-hmm.
I when I was younger, but yeah, that's still something that's very, very, very hard to come to terms with when it happens. It's makes you think you're going crazy, but yes, I have experienced it now.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, the last few years is the first time I've ever experienced that.
That's incredible to me. And I gotta tell you, Kev, when I first started doing all of this, I thought I had it pretty well dialed in. I thought I knew that these were some kind of hominid that had just been existing around us, and it was just really good at avoiding us, that they were intelligent, but they just didn't want anything to do with us. But after speaking with so many people that have had these incredible experiences, like, the mind speak and stuff, that the voice is like in their heads, and, but I can't believe that all these people are lying, and some very credible people, and well-known people have come forward with this idea of mind speak, and I think that it's an incredibly powerful thing. But I guess this show is obviously the Paranormal Portal, and we deal with paranormal all the time, and people hearing ghosts in their head, people hearing other kinds of beings in their heads. So I don't know why. Maybe that's as hard to believe. I think it's probably something that we all are capable of doing. It's just a matter of us being in this technological world, maybe.
I think it's something that we probably had
Mm-hmm.
generations ago, and because we've been dumbed down by our technology, it's something that we've got away from.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd be able to build it back if you were able to be taught how.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, it hasn't happened a whole lot, but, when you get a thought, something pop into your head that is not yours and it comes from somewhere else, that's something that's very, very difficult to deal with. It still takes me by surprise when it happens.
Yes.
But I think I'm more open to it now than I ever was before.
Yeah. Well, I think that's good too, especially as your path seems to be really intertwined with their presence, and so for whatever reason, and I think about the Glagg experience, and how you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and this little guy just happened to be in that place too, and it really makes you you really have to kind of embrace the idea of a destiny, or something that was really supposed to happen, and as such, this is supposed to happen. Where that I think it's very powerful and healing for all of us to hear your stories and to hear what you experienced.
Yeah, well, that's something that I don't know how they do it, but I know they all know who he is.
Mm.
And so I guarantee you they know who I am, but how does the ones down here, because when I go out and look for them, I always seem to find them or find evidence of them.
Mm-hmm.
Does that just mean I'm that good? No, I think there's more to it than
Yeah.
that. They seek me out for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, but if you think about it, okay, so let's just take, for instance, psychic phenomena, which we discuss a lot on the show. And in the psychic phenomena, people can live across the country from each other, and just suddenly, boom, they know that something's wrong, and they got to call their kid that lives on the other side of the country. They call their kid on the other side of the country, and oh my God, things were going sideways for that person, and they really needed that call. And so if we can do it in our almost unconscious awareness state, then how much more could it be refined so that, I think space to us means something. Like distance means something because if we can't yell it and we can't see it, then it's kind of out of our experience. We know it's out there because we can go on our computer and download it, or look at a webcam or something. But we're so intertwined in our technology that to step away from that it feels like an Achilles heel. But these other parts of our natural world have probably not lost all of those things that we maybe once knew. I think, I've heard of shamans communicating with kangaroos in Australia and having dialogue and discussions and hearing about other people that were far away. And when they talked, the messages would correlate. Like, how did you know that I didn't do that? Well, the kangaroo told me. It's like, how does this work? But I think we're living in this incredibly dynamic world where all of these things are intertwined. It's just that we've forgotten our part in it.
Yeah. And another part of that is look at what happened last summer. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know where I was going to be in Montana.
Yeah.
And who was waiting for me there was already there before I got there. How did they know that?
Right. Well, apparently their connection's been alive and well all this time, but our awareness of it apparently isn't. But very, very powerful. And I want you to touch on some of that. You've been hearing stories coming out of this area. I'm in the Idaho area, of course, ladies and gentlemen. This is where Kevin used to live. But would you like to go into some of those?
Yeah. Well, there's several that I've heard of people that have been saved by a Sasquatch, and from what I can gather, there's only one of them it could have been because of things that have been said, and then the people at the same time there's a whole bunch of stories about people during hunting season getting run out of the mountains by a big booming voice telling them to get lost.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I taught him. Now that I'm older, I wish I wouldn't have taught him that. But
those weren't the exact words, right?
Yep.
No,
there was one lady that was working for the Forest Service got thrown from her horse during fire season, and he carried her to town. She had a broken collarbone and a broken leg and a concussion, and he carried her about 17 miles to town. And the other one was a park ranger or Forest Service. I don't remember exactly which, but during fire season, his truck died as he was making one last loop, trying to make sure everybody was out of where the fire was.
Mm-hmm.
And his truck stalled, and he actually passed out because of smoke inhalation. And they found him on the side of the road, unconscious. And when the fire had passed, a couple days later, they found his truck exactly where it had died, but the fire had been around it, but the top was peeled back like a tuna can. Something ripped the top of it, pulled him out, and carried him down the mountain out of the fire.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Especially when you think of the top of the truck being peeled out like that. I mean, what kind of strength does that take? I mean, that's like having the jaws of life in each arm,
But that tells you a lot about them, that they're not just mindless killers. They actually have compassion. There's a couple other stories like that I've heard from the same area that kind of, make me think it was him.
Mm-hmm.
And people that I've talked to all give me the same identifying mark that I would identify him by, like in a police lineup.
Sure. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not going to say on here. The people that know what he looks like knows it's him also, but.
Mm-hmm. There was also vocabulary involved in not only the hunting one, though, right? The woman that was carried to safety.
Yeah, he was telling her she's going to be okay. She's hurt. He's taking her to get help.
And that's a whole lot of vocabulary, Yeah.
I
mean,
whenever she started to freak out, he'd tell her it's okay.
Wow. That's so powerful. And so that was kind of your clue that he's still out there. I remember the last time you were on the show. Of course, that's the big that was the big unanswered question. Is he okay? You
Yes.
hope he's okay. You hope that that there's a way that you could reconnect somehow. And then these stories started coming to you.
Yep.
So isn't it just really cool that you put that question out there and the universe kind of answered?
It's amazing. It's awesome. I wouldn't expect anything less out of him, but just hearing that, more than once he's done something to help somebody, went out of his way and even put his family in danger to help a human. That to me is just awesome. I couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, that's really really cool. And did you get a chance to talk to that forest ranger in person?
I talked to him on the phone.
Wow, that is so amazing. What was his takeaway from it, if you don't mind me asking, or did he say? I mean, like, does it still rattle his mind?
It's still one of those things that he can't process. But looking at the truck, it's obvious that the cab opened and pulled him out and carried him to safety. Everybody thought that he was stuck in there. And somebody just happened to see him laying on the side of the road about a quarter mile up from where everybody is parked, out of the fire, way out of the fire. Something carried him down as far as it could, laid him down on the side of the road and left him there. But what they did to get him out of the truck was just phenomenal.
I'm just
To open the truck door so he'd rip the top off of it.
well, I guess both are options when you're that big and strong, of course. But
Yes.
so that was the breadcrumbs for you to know that he was probably okay and still out there, and that must have felt good to hear those things, huh?
It did. It was. It was very, very, very good. Made me smile. Hopefully that our time together was influenced in that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Because you don't hear those stories often. They come up every once in a while. Like I can recall hearing stories of a little 6-year-old boy walking away from or the 3 to 6-year-old boy walking away from a campsite, and he got hopelessly lost out in the wilderness, and he was kneeling down crying and just scared, and suddenly this big hairy person came up and offered him a hand, and apparently it had breasts, so he knew it was female, took him by the hand and walked him back up to the campsite and then ushered him in. Just enough that the being could stay hidden, but brought this child home. And I mean, those kind of acts of just amazing, just are amazing interventions. I wish they'd happen more.
Yeah, that's one thing about, when Duke convinced me to go on his show and talk about it. There wasn't a lot of people telling about the good side
Yes.
of these people. And he said, if somebody's brave enough to come out and tell their story first, you'll get more people coming out. And that's something that I have noticed in the last couple of years since I was on Duke's show. You get a lot of people that have had a good experience with them that have actually come out and told their story also.
Well,
And that makes me feel good, because before it was all, people were, I saw a Sasquatch and I thought I was going to die. Well, what did it do? It looked at me. I was so scared. And that's all that you'd get.
sure. Sure. Now it doesn't help that what's looking at you is also like 8 or 9 feet tall and built like the Incredible Hulk and doesn't look happy to see you.
Yeah.
That's intimidating as hell for sure. But I got to tell you that I've in the comments and emails I've received from people after you're on the show, people talking about how they've utilized your story. Like a man contacted me, and he and his children listened to it repeatedly, and they talk about the importance of relationships and the importance of caring for each other and looking out for each other. I mean, they use your story to teach their children, and how incredibly powerful is that?
That's awesome.
That's what you brought to the world, brother. I mean, by your coming forward, it's hard to know. First of all, it's a brave thing, because who knows who's going to listen, if anybody will. but you did it anyway, and you and Duke sat down and recorded several episode series of that entire event. And I know that that's that's available on World Bigfoot Radio, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to head over there on your YouTube, you can certainly check out all those episodes of Kevin's experience. And it's an incredible journey. But to come out, face that potential ridicule, but you did it. But I think largely, as far as I've seen, people have embraced it, and I find that incredible. You know,
I geared up for the opposite.
Yeah.
I had no clue that people would react to it the way they have. I was geared up for the ridicule, and I was ready for it.
Sure.
But it's been refreshing that it's been the other way, and I have met so many good people.
Yeah.
Because of it, made a lot of very good friends because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it wouldn't have happened if you hadn't been brave enough to do that. But and I think too, it's, as you mentioned, there aren't a lot of people telling the good stories. There aren't a lot of people telling the happy things and the benevolent side and the gentle side of these mysterious beings that exist in our wildlands. But your story brings that to light. And I think it really helps us to have a much better understanding. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to our first break here in just a few seconds. But I wanted to take a minute, of course, to let you know that Paisley Wild will be coming up next with the Spaces Between on TFR iHeart. Tune in and TalkStream Live. Now, this is a two-hour show, so it won't be anytime soon. But I just want to make sure I get that out. So tune in and watch her. And she also simulcasts on YouTube as well. And then the Duke will be on deck with World Bigfoot Radio, and he is usually in the chat room there, so you can stop in and have a nice talk with him as his show happens and get the inside scoop on the stories that he's brought to the table. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to break. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal.
TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're having a good time. We've brought a bunch of people in tonight. This is really great. We're rocking right around 100 people watching, so that's good for our show. We're doing good, brother. And our special guest tonight, of course, is Mr. Kevin Laing, who is a dear friend and many-time Bigfoot experiencer, and has the distinction of being one of the very few people who has actually met and befriended a young Sasquatch when he was young. And it's an amazing story, Kev. I really salute your bravery and your ability to push through all of the obvious fears that would be associated with bringing a story like that to us. But I think I really believe we're all better because of that, you know?
Well, I think that if something that I could say could help somebody, then I have an obligation to say it. That's the main reason that I actually went on and talked about it, because there is some stuff that I know that I'd never heard talked about before. But you know, if something that I know can help somebody in some way, then I needed to let it out.
Absolutely, yeah.
I hope it has give people a better understanding that they're not what mainstream media wants everybody to think they are. They are compassionate. They are sympathetic and empathetic and very caring. You just have to understand, yeah, they're a little bit different than us, but they still are very much the same as us. They have the same emotions and everything.
And as such, there are the bad ones of the bunch, I imagine. I mean, I've certainly heard enough horror stories because those stories come out pretty easily, and stories like yours, of course, are less likely to be brought forward. But you know, what do you think do they have the same spread of emotions as we do? I mean, are they that emotionally diverse?
Yes, they do, from what I've seen. Now, on the bad ones, there's stuff out there that looks a lot like a Sasquatch, but is not. You know, some of the stuff that is a little bit different breed, and that, you know, if you're not familiar with them, would look like a lot like a Sasquatch, but is not. And that's the stuff you got to watch out for. And of course, there's always good and bad of anything. Look at us. There's good people and there's bad people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really true. Now, of course, there's the reports of things like the Googway. There's the reports of different types of Sasquatch, you know, type 1, 2, 3, 4, or however many. It depends on who you talk to. There's people that think there's like 8 or more types. Some people think there's 4. I don't personally know. I mean, I just go by what I've heard. But do you think that the behaviors are very diverse between those groups as well, or do you think that all of those groups probably have the same kind of emotional diversity?
I think the family groups are all pretty much the same, even though the ones where I'm at now look a lot different than the ones in the Pacific Northwest. They still act a lot the same.
Oh,
And still have the same characteristics, but they look a lot different. They're not as big down here as they get up north, but you know, the ones down here have more conical shaped heads, but as the way that they act and the way they treat each other is all pretty much the same. from what I've seen. Now, I've never had a bad experience with them, even when I've been out. I've crossed the line and been threatened for it, but it was my fault. But just understanding the way that they are with their territory, the only time I ever been in a situation that was unnerving was when it was my fault.
Okay. So you were pushing too far, and they let you know that was too far.
Or something like that let me know I'd come too far.
Okay.
Being too eager to get close to them.
And of course, are they similar to anybody's behavior, whether it be an animal or a human? I mean, if you get too close, where the children might be, then of course you bring out a different side altogether.
Definitely.
I find that interesting. Now, I gotta ask you: do you have any insights on some of these things like broken trees and these structures? Do you have any idea what they might mean?
I know what some of them mean. I know that the tree bows, when they bow a tree over, it points to either something that is over that way or something you want to stay away from. The tree twists, when they twist a branch instead of just snap it off. That means if it's a left-handed dominant, then it's go left. If it's right-handed dominant, it's go right. I don't know a whole lot, but I know what some of them mean. A lot of them are like the big X structures, especially the ones that have the root balls up in the air.
Okay.
That's an alpha saying, look at what I can do. If you think you can challenge me, come on.
See, I've thought the same thing. I've thought that those must be, because some of those are absolutely trees. I mean, those are not just good sized sticks. Those are freaking trees that are lined up, and sometimes upside down, sometimes balancing. And I'm like, why would they be doing this? What would be the significance of it? But then it occurred to me, I don't know, maybe a year ago, maybe a little more, or maybe less. I don't know, but it just hit me. It was like, maybe it's like the bear scratches. The big bears will get up as high as they can on the tree and scratch, and that lets the other bears know how big the owner of this land is. And so maybe I was thinking that it was the same thing for these elaborate, tree, whether they look like teepee structures or X's or whatever, that they must be, a display of power and maybe a warning, maybe a welcome, for all we know. But I just thought that it must be the size that they are must be relevant to the size of the creature doing it.
Yeah, when I was in Montana last summer, when I was over on the Scalcoho side, I found an X structure that was probably about 35. The two trees that it used were about 35 to 45 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
X was immense. The trees probably weighed 3 tons.
Wow.
And it was, both of the root balls were sticking up in the air. So, there's no possible way nature could have done that. And in the same area, there's a tree bow that Kakalaki and Cat, I took a picture of them underneath of the tree bow, and the center section of the bow is about 25, 30 feet above their head. What can take a tree that tall, bow it over and tuck it underneath some other, couple logs on the ground and make it stay there? I mean, what kind of strength does it take to bend a lodgepole pine over?
Yeah.
Till it touches the ground.
Yeah.
We don't have equipment that could do that.
I wonder how they do it, though, because, they're obviously not 35 feet tall, but to bend a tree of that size, you'd need to grab it, like, by the top of it, wouldn't you? And heave it down?
I have no idea how they do what they do. I constantly have said, I don't know how they can do that. But I definitely know exactly how strong they are and what they're capable of.
Oh. So the last time now when you were younger and it was getting to be the last time when you had to say goodbye to Glagg. How big was he at that point?
He was about 10 foot.
10 foot. Jesus. Wow. I'm trying to get my head around what that would be like to stand next to a 10-foot anything, especially a big, even a gentle giant such as him. It's just, that's got to be incredibly intimidating, huh?
Yeah, it is. That's why people have heard me say, if you think you want to see one of these, you can never prepare for it. No matter how prepared you think you are, when you see it for the first time, it's so far beyond anything you could ever imagine.
Yeah. And that's funny because I think about a lot of the skeptics and stuff. They say, well, phones are everywhere and they got these great cameras on them, but why are these people not taking pictures? And it's like, you have to understand to stand next to something like that. I mean, we just don't have a point of reference. It's like standing next to a house that could, swat you into, the next county, and I suppose for most people, it's like, they obviously don't know the intentions of these things. I can't say that any of us do at any given moment because they might be in a real foul place. They might be one of the mean ones. You don't know, but you're looking at something that with no effort at all could turn you into a grease stain,
Easily.
and
Easily.
so who's in selfie mode at that point? you know?
When you get in that situation, you don't think about the camera that's on your phone. You don't think about that at all. It never even crosses your mind. Knowing what I know and the experiences I've had, I've still never even thought to pull out a camera. And I've had one on me before.
Mm-hmm.
I've been filming, doing research, and there's situations that I won't even point the camera in that direction because it doesn't even cross my mind that I have a camera in my hand at the time. It's one of those things. It just, when you're in that situation, it doesn't even register that you have a camera because so far beyond anything you've ever experienced before.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's like there's no point of reference. It's like it's kind of like watching Transformers and like when how big the people are next to like the Optimus Prime guy or whatever. I mean, it's like it's almost that scale when you look at some of those huge ones. And I mean, it's a different game altogether. I don't think that most people can conceptualize that. Because I know that even like standing back next to a huge weightlifter for me can be really emasculating. It's like, oh, I'm just going to be sitting here quiet. But you multiply that by a scale of maybe 3, and or more depending on the size. Because I've heard of the dimensions of the adult big ones, and I mean literally I can't even picture it in my mind what that would look like to stand next to, and.
There's a picture of me, and it's an actual photograph of me standing in the trees, and Rob Roy Menzies put a picture of the size Glagg is now next to me, and it'll show you exactly how big he is now, and what, that frame of reference.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, no way that he's that big. Well, I hate to tell you that, yeah, he is. He's a lot bigger than he was the last time I saw him. Wow. When I was a kid. A lot.
Is that on your Facebook?
It was on Duke's last show.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I got you. Well, I mean, I'm sure that it's it's absolutely enormous, but those kind of things are hard to get your head around, and I guess it would be like the Incredible Hulk in a lot of ways, but even bigger, huh?
A lot bigger. I don't even come up to his waist now.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my God. And now I guess we should get to that, but we're like 10 minutes away from the hour break. But so you have had a reunion.
Yeah, last year when I went to Montana. That's what I hinted on a little bit, is when we were up at Coloma, he was waiting for me, he was there before I was, and I didn't even know where I was going to be. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I want to thank the people that knew about him being there that didn't say anything
Mm-hmm.
until I came out and talked about it. I really appreciate that. Yourself
Mm-hmm.
and Michael and the 3 other people that got to see him also
Mm-hmm.
that didn't say anything until I was ready for it.
Yeah, that was that. It's such a unique experience to be in the presence of something. Like, the only thing that I had going against me was I wasn't wearing my glasses and it was so dark.
I wish you would have said something because we would have went back and got him for you.
I know.
But you got to feel the feeling of him being in your presence.
Yeah. Well, I
it
can
was-
tell you, the air was just electric, and I know that for me was really awe-inspiring. I just couldn't see much anything. So, but I didn't know what we were doing because you were like, hey, let's go over here. I want to tell you something. I'm like, okay. So I'd just taken my glasses off, and then we walked over there, and then you're like, I want to introduce you, and I'm like, what? And so it was an opportunity at that point that it was like, well, I couldn't really see anything at all, but I did feel that electricity in the air, and it was a hell of an experience, and I was, of course, very, very honored with that trust in me. That was amazing.
Well, it wasn't me. There was he was really, really cautious because there's so many people around, but there is a few that actually got to see him.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish you would have had your glasses on.
Me too. You have no idea how many times I've just kicked myself for that very reason, because I think that's we're all looking for that moment, and there it was, and I couldn't appreciate the scale and magnitude of it, but I can tell you that as we were standing there, it's like the air was just humming, and I can't explain that. I can't put that into words other than to say that if you've, I don't know, maybe it would be like if you've ever been in the presence of someone who's just a great person or something. I mean, you get that kind of electrified feeling, but it was like times 10. It was just so intense. But the whole experience up there for me was so intense. Being up there and being in that location, and there was a really cool energy to the whole place. And so I was just deeply honored to be there on many levels, but that was just that was really the pinnacle of it. But you had asked for me not to discuss it, and I honored that.
I appreciate that. Until I was ready to, there's a lot that went on before that trip to Montana, and then a lot that happened to me after. But
Yeah.
it's when I kind of just dropped off the face of the earth for about a year, but
Well,
decided to come back.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm really glad you did, because I think, that's been the one question that I probably hear the most. Has Kevin, is he planning to go up there? Is he planning to look to see if he can make contact again? And that has come up dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And, of course, I think we were all, after the initial visits, we're all rooting for that, because it just seemed to be the perfect continuation, or for things to have come full circle in a sense. Do you think you'll ever go back up again?
Yeah, I definitely will.
Okay.
As soon as I can afford it again, I plan on going back. It's just been a huge setback. What happened? I don't know. I can say it, but right at the end of January, my kidneys failed, so I spent 7 weeks in the hospital.
Wow.
And so I'm still recovering from that. I'm a lot better, but only after I checked myself out of the hospital and went the all-natural path and got away from the chemicals from the hospital. They were killing me in the hospital.
Yeah. Well, you were in a really bad place, but you found some compassionate soul to really help you, and that is just amazing.
Yep. Well, she saved my life before. About a year ago, the doctors were ready to cut my leg off at the knee, and she told them, no, you're not, and she saved my legs. I still have both of them. And so she's already saved that for me. I totally trusted her with this also, and I'm a lot better than I. In 3 days, she did what the hospital couldn't do in 7 weeks.
Man,
Got my kid never working again in 3 days.
that's so
All
amazing. That is so intense and amazing. And you know, I think that there's, you know, not that this is a discussion about that, but I have to say that there is so much wisdom. So she's a homeopathic practitioner.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much wisdom in that, and again, a lot of people scoff at those kind of things, but these are ancient knowledges. This is knowledge that goes back to, you know, probably the foundation of civilizations. The whole idea of homeopathy and the use of herbs and natural elements to create balance, and how powerful that is. I think, you know,
Everything that I do now, you know, I still have a limited diet. I'm still recovering, but I'm getting better every day. But the main thing I do is it's all natural. She took me off all of the steroids and all of the medications that they put me on in the hospital. You know, the hospital was needed. I won't say that they weren't,
sure.
but you know, they're so reliant on chemicals. And
Yes.
the liver doctor wouldn't talk with the kidney doctor, wouldn't talk with the spleen doctor, wouldn't talk with my physician. And they all put me on stuff that all has interactions, and it just messed me up even worse.
Oh God. Wow,
But
that's terrifying.
it was scary, very, very scary.
Well, then she showed up like an angel into your world, man. That's for sure.
Yep.
And you're walking fine, like everything's working like it should be.
Yeah, everything's perfect now.
Well, like I said, you know, I've talked to you, you know, several times through the years since you first made your appearance on the show, and the look to see you now is so refreshing, because you know, and I know this sounds macabre, but I was looking like, you know, especially at Coloma, I was just thinking, my God, I'm so glad he made it here, because it didn't look like you were going to go much further.
You remember how emaciated I looked when I was there?
Yeah, yeah, and how cold you were all the time, because you had like zero body fat, and yeah, it was sketchy, brother. It was really your determination to be there was heroic, because I I wouldn't have left my couch, but here you were up on a mountain, so that's amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a blast, even though I wasn't doing so hot. I had the most fun I've had in a long time. And hopefully the next time I get to go back, I'm doing as well as I am now.
Yeah.
The last week I made a video on my channel with my daughters for the first time, and that was awesome. They went out with me,
That's cool.
and my we're learning all about them. My daughters have fun with the ones that come up to the house.
Uh-huh.
They they all come up to watch my daughters when they're out on the back porch. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And it's neat that you can have the, you know, to continue that legacy, you know, onto the next generation, that appreciation, because they will have the opportunity to be raised with someone who has a very unique experience and a very unique insight into this enigma.
Yep. They're always asking about it now. When they were younger, I didn't say much, and it wasn't until I went on Duke's show that I ever started talking about them much. But now, whenever they come down here, they can't wait for the sun to go down, because that's when all the action starts happening here at the house.
That's really cool. Now I got to ask you this as well, because I mean, this to me seems like a natural progression, and I don't know. I'm sure you've considered it or discarded the idea, but it seems like your story should be a book. It should be available for people to read, and, you know, to continue your story long into the future. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, there was somebody that was writing it, but that's one of the things that I was told to stop.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope that you can find a way to continue that, because, you know, this is
But that's. I'll just say you can't threaten me. You can't hurt me.
yeah.
If you kill me, you do me a favor. You take away all my pain. But they went to a place that'd get me to scream uncle real quick.
Sure. No, I understand. I understand, and I do appreciate, at least at least it's recorded and it's out there for people to discover and hopefully gain value from it as much as, I have, and as much as the people that emailed me have, because it's an incredible journey, and it's a neat idea that these really are a people, not just
answering questions for people. That's why I had started my YouTube channel and did the live chats for so long, but unfortunately that was shut down too. So,
well, if we get questions here, I'll be sure to ask them. But
we'll answer any question I can if you can get it to me.
Well, yeah, actually, we got a phone call. Caller, I know you've been on there for 9 minutes. We're about a minute out of the hour break, so just hold on. We'll get to you on the other side. And anyone else, if you want to call in, please feel free. The number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. If you'd like to ask a question of Kev and hear what he's got to say. This is your opportunity, or an opportunity. I'm sure there'll be others, but this is the opportunity on the show. So the second hour will be opening up to phone calls. Please take advantage of that, because you can hear it from the man himself, not from anywhere else. And there's no better place than to go to the source. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the break. Oh, thank you, Awesome Tiger, and thank you, the other people. I got to look back and thank everybody for the super chats. But we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, for second hour of our show tonight. Don't go away, and we'll be right back at it.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
looks extraordinarily bad.
They linger in a perpetual dream state, a nightmare from which they cannot wake. I can see you, Mommy! Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeist are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
And years. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 is upon us. And thank you to Justin Longton. I appreciate that donation, brother. That really helps a ton. It really means a lot. And Aussie Tiger, thank you so much as well. You guys are amazing. It goes a long way to help us keep the show on the air. So we are back at it. And our special guest, of course, is Mr. Kevin Laing, who is joining us. And we are talking about Bigfoots tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And one special Bigfoot named Glagg, who is an incredible being that befriended Kevin at a young age. They grew up together in many ways. They grew into each other and because of each other and formed a lifelong bond, which is an incredible story. If you haven't heard it, go over to World Bigfoot Radio. Check it out. They did many episodes tying the whole story together. And Kevin was recently back on over there where they have also tied it up as well. And now he's here with me, and he's all mine. But we've got a caller here, Kevin. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get to the call and welcome this person to the show. And this is area code 228. You're on the air.
Well, hello, good evening to you all. Am I sounding okay? Can you hear me?
Can hear you. Yes.
Well, Kevin, first of all, it's a very high honor to meet you via phone. Much respect for you. Thank you for sharing with the world your phenomenal experiences. Can't thank you enough for that. And in saying that, I'd really just like to also remind the audience of what an actual hero Kevin is, because, it's my understanding he has endured some great pressure from perhaps the government and other sources that wanted to stomp out his story, and that's a form of persecution. So therefore, I want the audience to know what a brave truth teller we have in our midst tonight. Very proud of you, Kevin. And Kevin, there was one thing that you were talking about with Duke on World Bigfoot Radio, and that's when the trailer was behind y'all, and you were telling them to hurry up, get it loaded, they want us out of here. Can you reiterate that for the audience tonight, sir?
Yeah, that was when we was in the Scalco and getting ready to leave, and everybody else had left but us was the last truck there, and we still had some stuff to do, getting packed up. And I was in the cab of the truck. I was driving, and they were in the back of the truck, getting the rest of the stuff loaded up. So they were oblivious to what was going on at the front of the truck up where I was sitting. There was one just 15 to 20 yards away that was getting more and more upset the longer that we sat there. And so, luckily nothing happened, but other than getting growled at and some branches snapped, but we finally got loaded up and got out of there. But it wasn't until we were the last truck there that, they were just done with us being in that area.
Wow.
Well, that's certainly understandable. That y'all had been there all day. And for those of y'all who have not tapped it up and watched it, it's a must see, because what Kevin is sharing with us is a very rare experience. And as you mentioned, the First Nations, Brent and Kevin, that's appreciative, because in essence they were often ridiculed and persecuted for bartering and trading with the more human-like Sasquatch. And it's my theory that there was a good bit of inbreeding that went among the natives and also the humans. I mean, it wasn't past them to abscond females, and I suppose it was the juveniles that were coming into their own rights, as to how that came about. We can only speculate. But what's your thoughts on that, Kevin?
Yeah, well, I've heard those stories also about them taking women and children, but I can't speak a lot on it because I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I have heard those stories, yes, and I believe that there's a couple of throughout history, I believe it was in Russia, that one that town had captured, and
Zana.
Mm-hmm. And she had a couple of half human offspring from her time there, that they had her in captivity. So I know it's possible.
Don't you think that just gives more meaning to the fact that, yes, they have sympathy, yes, they have empathy, yes, they do try and get along with human beings, and some of them, just like human beings, there's good and evil in all walks of life. That just kind of gives credence to that.
Yes, definitely it does.
And I really do admire you. I think you are a hero amongst us. And congrats on feeling better. For those of you who are listening, go to Kevin's channel, and there's a link there to help him pay his medical bills. Y'all reach out to him, because this is a very phenomenal man, and the people that are morally supporting him and uplifting him, let's keep doing it, folks, because we really don't have anyone else who has had close human contact with a Sasquatch, a relationship with a Sasquatch that lasted their entire lifetime. And yes, Kev, I'm with Brent. Keep trying to write a book on that. Perhaps there'll just be an angel that sits over the top of you on that, because I really feel that, it really needs to get out there. I understand what you may have possibly endured, sir, but I'm rooting for you, okay? And thank you so much. It's very much an honor to speak with you. Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Kevin. This is Hazel.
All right, Hazel. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
And I will bid you. All right, I'll bid you adieu. And Brent, what is this Julia's talking about in the chat about happy birthday, Paranormal Portal?
Oh, because April is the kind of the month it all started. So this is our birth month.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I shot you a message that said a Marilyn Monroe B-Day performance for that.
All right. I'll have to check that out.
All right, fellas. Well, enjoyed it much. Thank you all, and have a great evening.
Okay, good night. Thank you for calling. All right, and we got another call here. Let's get to this one, and this is area code 480. You're on the air.
Hi, Brent.
Hi.
It's Jess.
Hey, Jess.
Hi to the minion and hi to Anubis as well.
Okay.
And congrats for almost getting 6,000 subs. Boy.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And hi, Kev.
Hey, how are you?
Good. And I'm glad you're doing a lot better.
Thank you. Me too.
And also, question, does Glagg know he's got a lot of fans out there? A lot of human fans?
He definitely does now. He wanted to know what Facebook is.
How do you explain that one?
I love your story. I think it's great, and it's just, aren't they like related to us in some way?
Yeah, if you think the way I do, I think they're, definitely they are. I think where they're descended from is direct line of us. And I think that's biblical.
Yeah, it's like almost like a missing link.
Well, not like the missing link. It's just if you believe what the Bible says, I believe that they're in it, and I think that they're, talked about in the Bible quite a bit, and especially in the end times too, when we're going to rely on them to keep us safe.
And how old were you when you grew up with Glagg?
As a teenager.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought, but I was making sure. Yeah, I was just wondering about that. And a big shout out to Duke for letting you tell your story and all that.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
Duke. No, I love that you have the courage to tell that story too. And it's awesome that you finally got to have your reunion with Glagg.
Yeah. It's something that I was always hoping for, but, I didn't expect it then, but, he was waiting for me when I got there last summer.
Another question. Did he ever try to come find you after you parted?
No. Actually, he started a family after that. And he has a big family now.
I heard about the big family. I heard it on Duke's show, World Bigfoot Radio. Shout out to that.
Letting now to keep them safe.
Well, I hope you stay healthy, and I'm glad you're well. And
thank you very
take care,
much.
bro.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for sharing your story and all that. Glagg sounds like a great Bigfoot guy.
He sounds like it. And he's a great big one too. So not only great, but great big.
Hey, you know what? He sounds adorable.
Oh yeah, I think so. But thank you, Jess. It's great to hear from you. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, and thank you, Brent, and thank you for having Kevin on your show. Well, and like I said, it's a portal party up in here. Okay.
All right. All right, Jess. Thanks. Good to hear from you.
Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the call board is open. If you got a question you'd like to ask Kev about his experiences or some other question, you sure can. Again, 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500 is the number for fun right here on the Paranormal Portal. And I'm trying to watch the chat, but I'm not doing a very good job at it, so I'm not seeing if questions are coming up there. But we'll just keep chatting. If you want me to ask a question, please do the @Paranormal Portal first so that I see it. It kind of highlights it. If you're in the YouTube chat, and I see the TFR chat is kind of quiet, but hope you guys are doing great over there tonight. Daryl, good to see you, and Bam. Nice to see you guys. And All One is over there. LJ High is over there. So good to see you guys. I'm not going to attempt to read the YouTube one because it's a huge list. It would take the rest of the show probably. But you've brought a lot of people out. Kev, nice job. Should have you on more often.
That still gets me. It's something that I never expected.
Yeah.
You know, my story, I never expected the type of response it has garnered. It's just amazing.
Well,
and something the caller hit on is, yeah, I do have a PayPal account that helps with my medical, and thank you to all the people that have helped. It's helped out tremendously.
It's fantastic. I know that 7 weeks in the hospital has got to be a steep bill. I just can't even imagine what that would look like. But yeah, I'm just glad that people are stepping up to help you. Of course, that's the amazing thing about the people, and I think that in many ways we're starting to see the really best of people come out, given not only your situation but the situation we're all in. It's just really. I mean, certainly there's still jerks out there. There's still idiots out there, but there's all these other people are just climbing up, and they're really stepping up to help each other, and I'm so proud of that. You know, I mean, to me that just is amazing. So, well done, everybody. Yeah, well done.
That's that. I had basically given up on people before Luke's show.
Yeah.
And something that, being on there, it's restored my faith in humanity. All the good people that I've met, it's just been overwhelming. And I was so cynical before that because I just basically given up on people.
Well,
but that's the one thing that it showed me, that there's still good people out there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's incredibly powerful. And I'm just thinking, what if you hadn't ever, and you'd never brought this out? I mean, it would have just been something that you would have eventually brought to your grave, and it would have died there. And
yeah.
I think this is important enough that it should continue, it should continue, and it should be shared, because it does create a better understanding, at least, of another facet of these beings, or another side of them that isn't reported, because nobody has these experiences. Nobody has these moments and these contacts and these opportunities to understand them. So I think it's very powerful, and hopefully it opens a lot of people's eyes, because
I hope so. It's allowed people to see that there is more to them than just a bloodthirsty killer that lives in the forest. That's what most mainstream wants you to think about them, but they're not. There's so much more to them than that. They're just centered around their family and keeping their family safe.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Now, I've gotten some pictures from Duke, and these look like what was shared on his show. Thank you, Duke, for sending these over. I appreciate that a bunch. I'm going to put this up here, and that's a mighty big Glagg. So this is a 14-foot mark, and this is the Kev at 6 feet mark. And
yes,
yeah, you're about the only thing you could do is probably pull up his socks for him.
Yeah,
that's about as much value as you're going to bring to that deal. Let me pull up another one here. Open a new tab, and I'll pull this onto the scene too. But now this one has a couple of measurements on it. This one has the 6-foot U again, and then it's got the 8-foot version, and then it's got the 14-foot version. What was the significance of the 8-foot version?
That was close to how tall he was when I last saw him. I'm not exactly sure how tall he was, but between 8 and 10 feet when we parted ways.
Yeah, that's plenty big though, and I guess the scale really gives you an appreciation for. I mean, we think of 8 feet as just, oh my God, that's a monster, but if you think of 14 feet, that's a whole different level.
It's something that is totally beyond your scope of comprehension. So
Right.
When something is that big out there, you're looking for something that's 8 feet. I mean, you can walk right past them and not see them. And their natural abilities, especially how they're a master of their environment.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
You always hear people say, I've been out in the forest my whole life and I've never seen any proof of Sasquatch. Well, were you looking for it?
Yeah, that's true, because they're even if they don't have extraordinary abilities, they still are wearing a ghillie suit. That's like their natural state. And of course, ghillie suits are made to blend in. They're made to knock off a silhouette, so you don't have a silhouette in the traditional sense. And living up here in the inland Pacific Northwest, I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that you can be you don't understand how deep and dark these forests get in a hurry, and you don't understand that there's many times that you can't see 5 feet from you when you're in the thick stuff. It's just not possible to see, and that's
In the afternoon, you can be in the middle of the trees and not see 10 feet.
right.
It's that dark.
Yeah, exactly.
Underneath.
The shadows are so deep, and that pine type of shade just seems to suck the light out of the air. I mean, it just gets dark in a hurry once you get in the thick. And so you could walk by any one of these and never see them. I mean, you could walk by somebody dressed in a SpongeBob outfit and not see them if they were more than 5 feet away. It's just the reality of it. I did not realize that forests got that dark until I moved up here. I mean, I come from Minnesota and lived in the forest there, but generally there's thick forest there too. Don't get me wrong, but up here it's a real dark kind of thick. I can't explain it unless you've seen it, but everything has almost an otherworldly glow, but at the same time it's very dim and you can't see far. It's whatever those trees do, they seem to really drink in all the available light because there's not even much to work with. And then there's one more that was that Duke sent over, and let me get this one on the screen. And this is a Glagg lives. So that's now who did the rendition that we're looking at of the face? That's
The older Glagg, that was Rob Roy Menzies.
okay. Wow. And is that pretty accurate to what you saw?
Very. That's about what he looks like now.
Huh. So he really has the more rounded head, though. He doesn't really have the conical thing going on.
Yep.
Huh. That's really intense. It's good that he's got good eyes, though.
The best pork chop sideburns of anybody I've ever seen in my life. His sideburns are awesome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. He's going full Elvis out there. But, yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Duke, for sending those over. That helps out a bunch to give us some visual references. Because when you think of 14 feet, I mean, I just can't even imagine that. And now seeing it, what 6 feet next to 14 feet looks like, I mean, it's like you're a toddler, if that,
That's why I say you can't prepare for what you think that you can prepare for it, but when you actually see something, Glagg's exceptionally large. They don't all get that big. Glagg just happens to be very, very large, but you can see why it's such a. When somebody sees one and is not prepared for it, they just freak out.
It's probably all the jerky he ate growing up.
Yeah. I hope it's because I fed him good.
Most wild ones don't get jerky, Kev. Just saying, just throwing that out there. No, that's really cool. What was that? I'm sorry, I talked right over you.
And no granola bars either.
Oh yeah, granola. See, that might be the magic ingredient right there. You need to set out, ladies and gentlemen, if you're habituating, leave out granola and jerky, and you'll have a huge one in no time.
Homemade jerky, not the store-bought stuff.
Yeah. Oh, did you make your own even way back then?
Yeah, it was deer jerky.
Oh, nice, man. I bet you that was nummy.
Yeah, awesome.
I have to go back to your early story when you're first on here. You talked about he could smell when you were riding up exactly where the goodies were in your backpack. Like he could smell before you even got off your motorcycle.
Yep.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, really gives you a good insight into why we don't see them, because I'm sure they have phenomenal hearing as well, Kev?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Very, very good. A lot better than ours.
Okay. So it's like on probably like dog level or right there around, or would you guess? Okay.
Their sense of smell too is so far beyond ours.
Yeah. And so that's why you you can't sneak up on these things, for one thing, because they're going to hear you or smell you long before you're there. And if they are indeed telepathic as well, then, they're going to know that you're there before they even hear you and smell you. So the opportunity to get close to them, I really think, though, Kev, I really think that when people do see them, that it's the choice of these beings to reveal themselves. It's not, I really don't believe that there are these fortuitous happenstances where they just, oh, you got me. I mean, it may happen, I suppose, and it's possible that it has, but I just can't imagine with those kind of sensitivities and sensibilities that we could sneak up on them, because I think that we are incredibly awkward in the wild places.
Yes, I think the same way. If you see one, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Obviously there's going to be the exception to the rule. One of them, having a bad day and screwed up and was seen by somebody, but that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. And of course, the idea that they do seem to gravitate towards people for some reason, because and it's been postulated that it's because we are a form of entertainment for them, and I suppose that that's probably true. I think as many different things and weird things that we do that are so different from everything else in nature, I'm sure we're quite a spectator sport.
Yeah, we're a conundrum to them.
I imagine we are. We're going to go to our last break, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be right back with the last half hour of our show. Don't go away, and I'll get to the calls right after that. So we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are in our last half-hour stretch. My God, it's gone quickly. We are having a great discussion here. We got a couple of calls on the board, but before we get to those, I just want to remind everybody, following the Paranormal Portal, of course, check out Paisley Wild. Her show is called The Spaces Between. It's a great show, and she's a great friend, and I think it's worth checking out. She's a real wonderful person, does a hell of a job on her show, and so check it out. It's up next on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, as well as on her YouTube channel as well, which you can find at youtube.com/thespacesbetween. And after that, World Bigfoot Radio with the Duke comes on TFRlive.com. And if you go to TFRlive.com/chat, you can hang out with the Duke in the chat room and hear some inside scoop on the stories of the night. So that'll be coming up as well. But we are joined, of course, by our friend Kevin Laing. Kevin Laing is with us. I'm calling you Kev. I hope you don't mind, but is that all right? Okay. Yep. That's what I called you in person, so I didn't want to be too informal. But we have some calls, brother. You ready for more calls?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we got 2 calls on the board. Let's get to these. And the first call is from area code 605. You're on the air.
Hey, brothers, it's Taco.
Hey, Taco. Thanks for calling in, brother. What's going on tonight?
Not a lot. Sitting out in my extremely cold garage waiting to talk and ask a couple questions.
Okay, by all means, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, awesome. A couple questions here. You've had multiple contacts and spent a lot of time with Glagg. Has there been any insight given to you as to why, other than the obvious reasons, why they avoid us so much and how long they've been around?
They've been around for a long time, and all I know is human contact is not allowed. For what reason, I'm not sure. It's just they all are not supposed to have contact with us for some reason. Not until it's time.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You know, we're not exactly the most popular things on the planet, so we're kind of a nuisance, I think, but I was always curious about that. And since you've had contact and conversation and been able to interact with this, I was just kind of curious about those couple things there. So
I found out recently that all the contact I had with Glagg wasn't allowed, but so you do stuff when you're kids that you break the rules all the time.
And there wasn't anybody around to tell Glagg that either, though, was there?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
he would be kind of a wild child, I assume.
Well, his parents we assume, were killed somehow or had gone missing for some reason. So Glagg was an orphan.
Yep.
Mm. And if I recall, I apologize if I'm getting this wrong, but was this? I believe this was a story I was hearing that you were hunting and you were hanging things from the tree and feeding him.
Well, yeah, that's the first time I met him was during hunting season. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what was that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I started feeding him a lot after that. I'd always kill an animal for him.
Okay. So, what exactly was what was going through your head when all this was happening? And like, some of the deeper questions I have was like, you know, what was his hair like? What did it feel like? What were the emotions you got when you and him would spend time together? And what emotions did you feel he was putting out there towards you? What kept you doing this?
I got the whole gambit of emotions from him. In the beginning, you know, the sadness and the relief of having a friend again, and we laughed all the time. His hair was a lot softer than you think it would be, by the way. Mm. It's actually hair, not fur. But, you know, the emotions, he has all the same emotions as us. He gets happy, he gets upset, he gets angry, he gets sad. But most of the time, so it was all just about having fun. Just two kids with no rules having fun.
Well, yeah, you know, that'd be something I'd like to experience. You know, I wish I would have known more about this, because I actually grew up in Missoula, Montana, and my backyard was the mountain, and I went up to the top of the mountain many times, and
they're all over that.
If I would have
around there.
See, I wish I would have known more about it, because I probably would have been looking for the signs, and I probably ran across a whole bunch of them when I was a kid. I just was too ignorant and busy doing, you know, what kids do. So this was the 80s, so.
Yeah. I hear you.
But
I grew up in Minnesota,
you know,
and didn't see the signs until I learned about them much, much later. So I'm in the same boat. Not that there probably aren't many, or they maybe only migrate through where I grew up, but I did go back then as an adult and adult with an idea, and I was able to find signs that I believe were them at least having passed through, and I think that they migrate through maybe.
Yeah, you know, I would give anything to be in either of your shoes right now, because you both are awesome. And out here in where I'm living, I've got, you don't see a hill for 7-8 hours. So it's kind of like, you know,
you can see tomorrow's weather before it gets
whatever.
There. I hear you, bro.
Yeah, it's true. So I don't know. I wish I would have known them signs and been more into this when I was younger, because then I'd have more to ask and more to talk about.
Well, we're here now, brother.
Just during the break, I got 3 taps on the back of my house.
Nice.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah. It happens every night.
Awesome.
Right. I have a good relationship with the troop that lives here where I'm at now. And there's a male that always comes up and taps on my house when he wants me to come out and say hi.
Well, tell him you're busy right now,
Here's
but you'll be available soon.
Yeah, I'll go out.
Here's a question for you. Recently, there's been a video / pictures of one looking in somebody's window. Are those accurate? Do you feel those are true? I know Brent would probably know a little more about what I'm talking about, but
yeah, I've seen those pictures.
Are those genuine, or do you think those are faked, or what's the story behind that?
They look really good. The only problem I have is the eyes are really close together. But I'm not saying that it's fake. It's the pictures are phenomenal. It's just the eyes are a little bit closer than the ones that I've seen in person.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you think it's just out of pure curiosity, or do you think that they do this to, I don't know, maybe they're smart enough to realize that there will be some sort of recognition or air quote fame involved in this?
I think it's part their curiosity and part their sense of humor. They're scaring people is hilarious to them. If they can get a rise out of it, that's just the funniest thing in the world.
Well, thanks for your call, Taco brother.
Well, if I was...
We got a couple.
All right, I'm sorry to keep you going.
No, that's fine. It's great to hear from you. I just got a couple calls. I want to make sure to get to everybody before our time is up. So.
Nope. I don't want to take their time up. So I appreciate the call, and I hope people donate for you. So.
Thank you.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All
Okay,
right.
bye.
Let's get to the next call. And this is coming from area code 430, and I think I know who this is.
Yeah, you know who it is. Hey, brother.
Hey, how you
Hey.
doing?
It's Kakalaki in Texas.
Welcome to
up,
the show.
bud?
Welcome to the show.
Hey, Cat.
Hi.
We haven't talked to you since right when we left Montana with Kevin.
I know. What's happened? I guess a lot's been going on in your world, though. Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Marriage is bliss,
it is.
except when I want to bring it.
Well, that's when you know you're doing it right, because if you don't have those times, something's wrong.
Yeah. So Kevin has come down here to our property too, and he and Wayne had some amazing talks with our boogers. And as soon as they heard the name Glagg, like 10 of them stepped out from the woods and like to pay tribute to Kevin. It was really cool.
Oh wow!
They got a young male out there that stepped out and let me see him and told me his name.
Oh wow, that's intense. So that's what you meant when you
And
said.
I get interrupted.
Go ahead.
He's everything.
I'm sorry. You kind of went mute there. Go ahead. Repeat that, please.
Said the one that he introduced himself with Kevin is every day we get interaction with him every day. He's always got to say hello. He's always got to show himself and say hello. And I mean, he's a little youngin'. Curiosity.
Wow.
Yep.
They all want Kevin to come back.
We all do.
That was pretty cool out there on their property. I did a couple videos from out there, but yeah, every night we went outside, they were all around us on their property. That's pretty cool there.
That is really cool, and they're everywhere. And I think that's something that is hard for most people to come to terms with. Is they're everywhere.
Yeah, and then they're not. You don't have to go miles and miles and miles back in somewhere. They're right on the edge. I mean, from day one since I moved in this house, they've been right off my back porch.
Wow, that's intense. That's incredible.
Everybody's out of town. I lived 8 months, but still.
What's that, Cat?
We actually got to see him there at Kevin's house.
Oh,
They're big.
wow.
Axel.
Yep, that's the young male's name's Axel. He likes getting his picture taken, I think.
Do you get any really good, like, clear pictures? And I don't blame you for not showing them, and that's not what I'm asking. But I'm just curious. Or do they intentionally avoid camera?
Well, I would never actually take a picture of him just of that, but doing the research, down in the ravine back behind my house and down by the White River, he popped up in a couple of my videos.
Oh.
I'm photobombing the video. But I'd never actually point a camera at him and take a picture. I think that'd violate the trust that I have with him.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, I know that there was a video that you had posted, and actually Duke caught one up in a tree that was looking at you. And I got to admit, that was a hell of a capture. I was blown away by that because, you usually don't see that kind of quality. And I it was just an incidental thing that he happened to be in frame, but I was really impressed with that.
There's a couple of the videos that I have. There's one that, I saw it, I knew where it was at in the video because of what happened when I was doing the filming. But 10 seconds before that, there's another one in the video. There's a whole bunch of them in that video that I only knew there was one in it.
Wow.
All of my videos, the people are the ones that pull the images out of them. So watch them.
So Khaki and Kat, are you guys habituating, or are they just happen to be there?
No, we're not habituating. They just happen to be here.
We habituate them with the Indian music and love.
Oh, that'll do it. That'll do it. They'll know it's a safe place for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a safe place.
Oh, that's cool.
It's even safe for us too.
Yeah, well, when you're surrounded by that kind of company, I don't think anybody's going to mess with you.
That's why we have a suspicious lack of deer and rabbits and squirrels and whatever. I mean, we don't have an absence of coyotes, but we did hear one killed in the creek last night.
Ooh.
Tell them about the trash.
Oh, yeah. Our latest thing. I've put trash bags from the kitchen that had food in them out on the front porch, but like it was raining or whatever, or it was cold or whatever, and I didn't want to take it out to the truck. So I just left it sitting on the front porch. And last night it happened again. I had tied the bag in a bow and left it on the front porch. Came out this morning, the bow was untied, the bag was open, and there was a hole in the side of the bag too. But I looked up the woods and I went, okay, guys, enough of this. Y'all are stinkers. Stop this. They're untying the bag because there's nothing else that would do that. If it was a dog, it would have just ripped it to shreds. If it was a raccoon, it would have just ripped it to shreds. But both times they untied the bow and left the bag open. And didn't strew too much stuff around, just a little bit. Like they put a hand in a time or two looking for something to eat and didn't find anything they wanted, so they just left it. Or maybe they did and they took it.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you guys have
Chicken bum.
We'll have to get in touch because you guys have got to come on and tell your stories too. So just reach out to me if you would, please, and we'll make that happen.
Okay. We'll do it after the show.
All right. Sounds wonderful. And thank you guys for calling in. It's great to hear from you. I'm sorry?
Yeah, and Kevin, we miss you, hon. We're gonna come see
Yeah, I miss
soon.
you guys too. Maybe soon we can see each other.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Yep. Thanks for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's great to hear from them. Yeah, they were up there in Coloma as well. So a great experience. And we got one more call here. And this is area code 812. You're on the air.
Hey, Brent, it's Adam from Indiana again.
Hi, brother. How you doing? Thanks for calling.
Good. How are you doing? Hi, Kevin. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I got a question for you about Glagg. Did you ever see Glagg? Did he ever have it make his eyes glow any different colors or anything?
I never saw that when I was younger. I've seen it now that I'm older, but I never saw it with him.
Did you ever see any like a blue color, like electric blue eye shine?
No, I've got purple on recording that I don't know what was, but the only thing I ever saw from him was just light reflecting off of it, and it was kind of like a pale green, yellowish green when his eyes
Yellow
reflect.
green.
Yep.
I had an experience close to my house here where I found a footprint, a small juvenile footprint, and I had some come around us in a campground with they had electric blue eyes, but they glowed in the dark. They didn't have a light source shining on them. They were just and it was only about 3 or 4 feet tall. So I don't know if they were juvenile or what exactly it was, but
that could be some of some of the other stuff that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have seen orange glowing eyes just recently that kind of freaked me out. I didn't know what that was. I've seen it twice now, actually 3 times, that they were actually glowing.
Yeah, in the darkness, they had their own self-illumination, didn't they?
Yep.
I had an experience with amber-colored eyes that had black slits in them while I was deer hunting in the dark. And another question I got for you is, has he ever came to you in like in your dreams? Have you ever seen him in your dreams?
I've had dreams about him. I don't know if that was, anything like that, but I have dreamed about him before.
You have dreamed about him.
Yeah.
Shortly after I had that found the juvenile footprint, I a dream about a juvenile that had came to the house, and he like stuck his hand through the window, and I closed the window on it because it scared me in the dream. And I often thought, well, that was kind of disrespectful to him, and I hope that didn't mess up my chances of maybe having another encounter with him out in the woods. So,
well, I think they can.
Another one.
So if you're, I really think they can tell what type of person you are. So I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. And I believe that if you go into the woods with good intentions in your heart, then they pick up on it and they know it. But if you go with bad thoughts in your mind or you're having a bad day, then they also know that as well, I think.
Exactly.
That's just my theory. But and one of the last thing, and then I'll get off here. Have you seen any UFOs or anything associated with him? And has he ever talked to you about a star connection with the star beings?
No, he hasn't. No, I've never seen anything like that either. I don't discount it. I know a lot of people that have, but I just never have seen anything like that. I've had enough that I've had to deal with knowing what I know that's on this planet.
There's more than just Bigfoot on this planet. Whatever these other things are that I've seen, they are real. I don't know what they are, but these things are real, and they're out there.
There's little people too.
Yeah, the little people.
That's
as well.
kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. The footprint was maybe instead of a juvenile, but the weird thing was there was only one footprint. There wasn't any other footprints around, and I've been deer hunting since I was 15 years old. I've tracked that track for 45 minutes. The leaves were washed out because the creek had come up and washed all the leaves out. I couldn't find another human footprint, nothing, just one little baby right foot, and is all I could find. It was kind of eerie, but then in a way it was like it was a gift, like it was given to us as a gift.
Yep.
I don't know. It kind of sounds strange, but
just be careful around the little.
Yeah, be careful around the little ones. Yeah,
aren't very good.
Yeah, I have heard that. I have heard that. The pup wedgies is what I've heard about up north. So
yeah.
I'm kind of leery about that. The encounter that I had with the blue glowing eyes, it wasn't. I didn't feel that I was threatened. I didn't feel threatened at all. With the yellow amber eyes, I got a warning that I just wanted you to know that I'm here when I saw the eyes. And I didn't like try to grab for my weapon while I was deer hunting or anything. So whatever it was, just walked on through. I never saw a silhouette or anything, but the eyes were about the size of a softball size.
Wow.
Oh,
that's a big one.
Well, Kevin, thanks for coming on this guy's show. I really like this show, and I'd like to put a shout out to Duke for finding you, Kevin. And I've subscribed to your channel, and I really appreciate what you're doing out there. I saw in the video where you guys found the soldier in the woods, or the body in the woods the other day, and that was really good of you, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate all that you're doing, and thanks for coming forward. Thanks, Brett, for letting me have a few minutes of your time.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and that'll be the last call. I see there's one more in the queue, but I'm sorry, we just don't have time. We're down to about just 2 minutes left, so I do apologize, and that's area code 845. I apologize, but we've run out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin, how can people stay in touch with you quickly?
Yeah, I still have my YouTube channel. Because of being sick, I haven't added a lot of videos lately, but I plan on doing more. It's Kevin Laing on YouTube.
Okay. And then you're on.
I just made a Teespring account. There's some shirts and stuff that are available there.
Excellent.
To it on the Facebook page or my YouTube channel. I'll add it to there.
Beautiful. And, of course, you're on Facebook. And I don't know, brother. It's been an epic journey. The time just flies every time we get connected. And I just can't thank you enough for being here.
Yeah, no problem. We can do it again.
Oh, we will.
Last time we talked, but I think you understand why.
Yeah, I'll accept your excuse. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. Remember, Paisley Wild will be coming up next on her show. Of course, you can stay in touch with Kevin. Again, he's on YouTube and on Facebook, so you can reach out to him and stay in touch. But it's been an epic journey here. The time just flew, but I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I really appreciate you all being here. Kev, hang on the line. Don't disconnect after the show, okay? I'll chat with you on the other side here. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to about wrap it up for the portal. We're down to under a minute now. So we hope that you've enjoyed it. We, of course, are doing podcasts. Part 2 with Ron Moorhead was released today. So we have part 1 and part 2 are released on the podcast. If you haven't heard those episodes, check it out. It is available where all podcasts are available except for Stitcher. But they're looking into it still. So we'll see if we can get on Stitcher. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for us. Remember, Paisley Wild's next. And then after Paisley is the Duke on tfrlive.com. So thank you all for being here with us. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. Good night, everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow night with Don and I on the Saturday version of the show. So good night.